Humanity destroyed Earth 1,000 years ago. So, the United Rangers Corps evacuated the surviving humans and took them to a new planet, Nova Prime. But this planet had aliens called Ursa who were very violent. Ursas were pretty much blind, but they could smell the fear in humans. But the prime commander of the Ranger Corps, called Cypher Raige, had absolutely no fear, making him invisible to the Ursas. Cypher could walk casually in front of an Ursa and kill them. Over time, humanity settles slowly into Nova Prime. Cypher's son, Kitai Raige, also applies to be a ranger like his father. Kitai's classroom test scores are excellent, but in the field he's not good enough, so he is not accepted. That night, his father Cypher comes home after a long time from a mission. Kitai sadly tells his father that he was not advanced to ranger. Cypher says that it's okay because Kitai is not ready yet. This makes Kitai upset. Later, Cypher gives his wife, Faya, a beautiful locket as a gift. Then he tells Faya that he plans to retire after one last mission. Faya tells him that he should be gentler with Kitai because Kitai really respects Cypher and wants to be like him. Then, they talk about their daughter who passed away in an incident. Apparently, Kitai blames himself for his sister's death, so Faya tells Cypher to be a father to his son and not a commanding officer. So Cypher goes to Kitai and says that he'll be joining him on his last mission. Faya tells Cypher that he made a good decision and wishes them goodbye. Just then, an amputee ranger thanks Cypher for saving his life. Despite not having one leg, he gets up and he salutes him. Kitai is amazed at the respect that his father gets. They leave Nova Prime and Kitai is just so happy to be on a mission with his father. Later, when everyone is sleeping, Kitai proves why he wasn't chosen as a ranger, by going around the ship and looking at a strange object. The guards stop him and tell him that it's a cage. When they find out that Kitai is Commander Cypher's son, the guard says that it's an Ursa and they will use it to train new rangers to be fearless. Kitai steps forward trying to be fearless, but he gets flashbacks of his dead sister and becomes a little afraid. The Ursa inside the cage senses his fear and moves, and Kitai becomes even more scared. Just then, Cypher enters the room and takes Kitai away. He tells Kitai to wear a special life suit because they could run into an asteroid storm. Cypher goes to the command deck and they are suddenly hit with a lot of asteroids, so Cypher tells the pilots to do a wormhole travel even though it might be dangerous. They successfully manage to do a wormhole and reach an area safe from the asteroids. However, the ship has suffered a lot of damage, so they look for a place to land. They find a planet, but their database says that it's unfit for humans. But their ship could get destroyed at any moment, so they have no choice but to enter the planet. While they are descending, Cypher goes to check on Kitai, who is having a panic attack right now. Cypher tells him to calm down, but he gets blown away due to damage to the ship. The whole ship falls to the ground. Kitai wakes up after a long time. He looks around, but no one is alive. He finds his father, who is breathing but barely conscious. One of his legs is broken, so he cannot walk around. Kitai helps him get to the command module. There, Cypher finds out that the tail of the ship with the Ursa inside has crashed somewhere else. The emergency beacon is also there. He tells Kitai to travel 100 kilometers to the tail and get the beacon. If he is not successful, then they will both die. He gives him a breathing capsule to breathe the poisonous air outside. He has 6 of them and each will last around 24 hours. His life suit also has cameras in the front and back so that Cypher can guide him along the way. Finally, he gives him his weapon. Cypher finally reveals which planet they are on right now, Earth. Kitai gets flashbacks of his sister being killed by an Ursa and asks what he should do about the one that was on their ship. Cypher tells him to avoid it as much as possible and that he will guide him at every step. Kitai goes out and immediately becomes scared when he sees a corpse. But Cypher calms him down and Kitai finally manages to climb the cliff and reach the top. The place is filled with animals and birds due to the absence of humans. Meanwhile, Cypher sends dozens of probes to look for the Ursa. Then he talks to Kitai using the communication in his armband. Earth freezes over completely at night, but there are hotspots on the way. Kitai must reach these before nightfall each day. Then he uses a scanner to see his leg, which has been broken very badly. He prepares to take a painkiller that causes extreme drowsiness, but Kitai calls him just then. His suit has turned black, which Cypher says is because of the smart fiber that it's made up of. When Kitai is in danger, it turns black. Suddenly, a baboon comes near Kitai. Cypher tells him not to do anything, so Kitai does something. He attacks the baboon, so more and more of them swarm the place. So Cypher guides him and makes him cross a river. The baboons stop chasing him and Kitai runs deep into the forest. When he is finally safe, his suit turns white. Suddenly, Cypher finds out that Kitai is showing signs of blood contamination. Turns out he was bitten by a venomous insect. So Cypher starts instructing him on how to administer the antitoxin, but Kitai loses his eyesight and starts panicking. With Cypher's guidance, he manages to administer the antitoxin and survives. but he has to lie down for some time because the insect also paralyzed him. It starts becoming evening and Kitai's suit turns black again. Cypher wakes up Kitai and says that the temperature is dropping by 1 degree every 2 minutes. He still has 10 kilometers until he reaches the hot spot, so Kitai gets up and starts running. Meanwhile, Cypher is doing his own medical treatment. Despite being in a lot of pain, he does not use the painkillers as that will send him to sleep. 1 hour later, Kitai reaches the hot spot where Cypher tells him to take the second inhaler. But when Kitai opens the box, he finds 2 of them broken, but he does not say anything to his father. After using up 1, he now has only 2 remaining. That night, Kitai asks his father about his experience in killing Ursas while being fearless. Cypher recounts the story of the first time he killed an Ursa and how he came to the realization that fear is not real. He says that danger is real, but fear is a product of one's imagination. The next day, Kitai passes a bunch of corpses that all belong to the baboons from earlier. Cypher starts checking to see if it was done by the Ursa. Later, Kitai reaches a waterfall. Cypher tells him to do an inventory and Kitai again lies that he has 4 breathing fluids left. Cypher suspects something and demands to see it, so Kitai shows him the 2 fluids remaining. Cypher makes some calculations. To reach the rest of the way, Kitai will need more than 3 capsules. But if he does a sky jump, then he can make it with 2 capsules. But he tells Kitai to abort the mission and come back to the ship. Kitai gets flashbacks of his sister's death when she had ordered him not to come out. She had been killed back then. So, Kitai fights against his father, demanding to complete the mission. Cypher still commands him to come back to the ship, but Kitai disobeys him and jumps. He uses his wingsuit to navigate down, but suddenly, he is attacked by a giant bird. He flies away, escaping the bit, but it captures him and takes him to its nest, which is full of little chicks. Suddenly, lots of panthers attack the nest to eat the babies. The bird is busy fighting one of them, so Kitai fights the rest of them. He successfully manages to take out 2 of them. Unfortunately, all the bird babies are dead. Kitai manages to escape, but he does not have his communications device with him. Meanwhile, Cypher sees 2 of his soldiers dead and impaled on a tree, which is something an Ursa would do. That night, Kitai goes into a cave and lights a fire to stay warm. Then he remembers what his father told him about the route and makes plans on how to complete the rest of the way. By the next morning, he has used the last breathing capsule. He makes a raft and travels for a long time down the river. Suddenly, he has a dream of his sister telling him to wake up. By the time he wakes up, it's evening and the area is starting to freeze. He too falls down from the cold, but the bird from earlier drags him away. When he wakes up, he is in a warm place. He gets out and finds the bird dead in front of him. Kitai continues on his journey and finds a piece of the spaceship. He continues running and finally reaches the tail of the ship. There, he quickly takes some breathing capsules and uses one. He also finds a new sword with different blade designs. As expected, the cage of the Ursa is broken. Kitai finds a new communication device which he uses to contact his father. Cypher is shocked and relieved to hear that his son is alive. But there is some electrical interference that causes their communications to be disrupted. Cypher can see Kitai, but they cannot talk to each other. Kitai finds the emergency beacon, but it does not get activated. Cypher knows that it can be activated from the peak of the volcanic mountain, but he cannot talk to Kitai. Thankfully, Kitai figures it out himself. On the way, he finds another corpse. It's actually a trap set by the Ursa to make Kitai scared so that he can be tracked. So, he starts running towards the volcano. Cypher sees something bad. The Ursa has found Kitai. Kitai's suit turns black, so he runs into a cave. The Ursa follows him while Cypher watches helplessly. Inside the cave, the Ursa attacks Kitai, who is too scared and runs away. He falls into an underground water reserve and comes out on the other side. But the Ursa chases him all the way outside and hurts him badly. Kitai starts thinking about what his father and sister used to say, and just like that, he loses fear. The Ursa walks right over him without even realizing that he's there. He gets up, takes the sword, and starts slicing and stabbing. After struggling for some time, he finally kills the Ursa. Cypher has already become very weak from his injury, but he proudly watches his son make his first kill. Kitai takes the emergency beacon and activates it. Sometime later, their people come and rescue them. Back in safety, Cypher stands up despite being heavily injured and salutes his son. Kitai gets emotional and hugs Cypher. Father and son hug lovingly as they return home.